Finding the right optical component for your next photonics device can take weeks of research, and that slows down innovation, and that's expensive. So I have come to a special launch of what might be a world premiere for this sector of our industry. Today, I'm speaking with Bárbara Buades, CEO at MEETOPTICS, about LUI, an AI assistant designed specifically to help engineers and researchers working in photonics. So let's start with the name. Why call it LUI?
Hi, hello. Very happy to be here, Jose. With you is always a pleasure, of course. Let me introduce you to our VP of AI in MEETOPTICS. He will take this question, why Louis is our AI assistant.
Yeah, thanks, Bárbara. Thanks, Jose. So let me say that we call our assistant Louis after Louis de Broglie, who is a physicist that proposed the duality between particles and waves. And we just call it Louis just to simplify it because de Broglie was a very hard name to pronounce because it's in French, and we saw that it's for broader knowledge to call it just Louis.
But you say that Louis isn't a chatbot like ChatGPT. What is it then? Can you give us a demo?
Yes, so well, Louis is more than just pure ChatGPT. Louis has been built to be like a bridge between all the information that is in MEETOPTICS website and the client, the customer, no? The client. So in general, in MEETOPTICS, we have catalog products, we have custom suppliers, we have PICS value chains, we have also in our database PICS suppliers that we produce runs. So the idea is that you have Louis as an interface to look and to find the correct products or the correct services and you and the client. So let me give you an example. For example, imagine that this is a MEETOPTICS website. So you have here like this is the home you have. Here you have all the services. And now Louis, it will introduce it as a pop-up. So you just can click here, open it, and then it welcomes itself. And then you can type, for example, that I am looking for a laser. So what Louis is doing now is navigating through our website and is going to look for the category that match your request. And it's going to, of course, understand that you are looking for the highest repetition rate, and then it's going to show you the product. So this would be the equivalent if you enter to MEETOPTICS, just to see the difference. So in MEETOPTICS, you need to enter here, laser light sources. You need to go to lasers. You need to go to pulse lasers. And then afterwards, if you're looking for a highest repetition rate, you will need to look in the correct column. In that case, is repetition rate. You accept it. Sorry, I apologize. Repetition rate. It's already here because of my screen. And then you need to sort it. And then here you have the highest pulse repetition rate laser.
And the marketplace of MEETOPTICS is fantastic. What happens if I don't know all the specs of the laser that I think I want?
Yes, in that case, of course, Louis took advantage that you explicitly mentioned that you're looking for the highest pulse repetition rate, highest pulse laser repetition rate. But in the case that you don't know the specification, you can, for example, ask, let me give you an example. You know, imagine that you're looking for a lens and you know that you want it for your red laser, and then you have a beam diameter and you want to focus down that beam to 10 microns. No? Let's just ask that to Louis.
This is very good because I actually do need a lens to focus a 1 millimeter beam at 780 nanometer down to 10 microns. Actually,
such a coincidence.
So let's see what happens.
Yes. So now what Louis is doing is just looking as a physicist would do, no? As a research engineer or physicist would do. It would first look for the product type, and it would understand. It will look in our database of problems and how to solve them. And from here, it will automatically understand that the most relevant specification in order to accomplish the goal that you are interested is the focal length. And this is where Louis is going to focus down without you specifying the focal length of the lens. As you see here, you see how Louis evolves, and then it's telling you the step that is taken towards to conclude that answer. And in a couple of seconds, you are going to see how Louis suggests a lens with the correct focal length.
A lot of AI tools can hallucinate answers. That means the answer is sometimes useless. How do you prevent that?
Yes, in our case, we prevent. So Louis is built, we have several layers in order to avoid the hallucination. So for example, what you see here is already an answer that has not been generated using typical autoregressive method, but instead, the LLM is provided with a lot of tools. For example, one of the tools is look in our catalog. Then another tool is to write Python code. And then match the spec of the products in our catalog with you or with your application, and then write a Python code, then execute it, then verify that the code has been successfully executed, and then the result of the code fulfills what you asked. And in that way, we remove or we try to reduce the association. And this is an example, and I think you just brought a very good example, because you see here how you got that the lens that you wanted has exactly 10mm focal length, and that result has been calculated and tested.
You had 250 professionals test this beta. What have you learned from their feedback?
Yes, so it was an amazing, like a trial test, because we could see, so we asked them if we were allowed to see their conversation, and then we got a lot of insight why people was using it. And then we, of course, it's very nice, like typical example of questions in where like they're looking for something, and then, for example, very specific, like in this case, and like they were looking for a lens for a given number, and then Louis was able to find it. But it also was very interesting to see how it helped them to search for to look in our catalog of a database of custom suppliers. And I think this is where also Louis shines in help you to find, for example, custom solutions.
I'm going
If
to
you
use
want,
this tool constantly, but I would like you to try a couple of more examples. I know you are expert on fiber optics now as well.
You have a fiber and you want to find the correct lens to perform an action, for example, in that case, to collimate that beam. Then let's see how it works. You can look, for example, and now what Louis is going to do is browse the catalog of single mode bare fibers, and then I will give you an example of how you can pick your fiber and look, for example, for the correct lens to collimate your beam. So here, for example, you see how we have the fibers Louis just brought, and then we can quickly pick one of the fiber. For example, you see all the suppliers. So we see, for example, this fiber, and then we can copy the code, and then we can ask Louis, for example, help to combine this fiber with a lens. This is what we can do. For example, you say, I am looking for a lens compatible with my fiber code, and then you type the code. The goal is to have a collimated beam of 1mm, and then wavelength is 780 nanometers. And then what Louis will do while we keep talking is do what a physicist would do. We just look in the database, and we're going to look for that fiber. It's going to look at the key specification of that fiber. In that case, it's going to look for the numerical aperture. It's going to look, for example, for the wavelength range, and it's going to look for the core diameter. And it's going to understand that you're looking for a spherical length. And it's going to understand that you wanted to collimate the beam. And it's going to merge all that information. And it's going to write Python code to solve that problem. And then finally, it's going to show you the product you're looking for. All the things is doing Louis in the background.
This
so
is
we
fantastic.
just need to give a little bit to it.
You are not only showing a marketplace, but you're showing a network of compatible products, being able to satisfy the need and facilitate the access to supply chain in photonics. Fantastic. So I had to ask you something. I always want to know what's next. What's next for Louis?
For a little bit more in the short-term future, we would like to also, Louis, to help you with the whole purchasing process, interact with your history of purchases, and then like a little more, I would say, not just in the short, but a little more in the long-term future, it's going to be more like a virtual benchmark or bench tool or bench, and where you can just start combining your optical components, and then we'll help you to prototype and see if the component that you have are compatible. And the idea is that you have like this virtual assistant that knows more than linear optics, but you can know thermal expansion, and you can combine. It's going to be a multi-physical domain expert.
Who should be using Louis today?
Yeah, Louis should be used by, I would say, like research in the field of optics, and engineers, of course, and anyone that would need to develop a product or a prototype.
Bárbara, you have worked really hard on building MEETOPTICS as a go-to marketplace for the photonics industry. How does this new AI tool fit in your overall dream?
So until now, we help people find and understand who is the supplier that can help them with their needs. And Louis brings this one step further. So it's not only helping finding products, but also understand what products you need to develop your setups and to develop your prototypes. So helps an engineer and a researcher in the whole prototyping journey. So it's very exciting.
That's Louis bringing AI and photonics to streamline discovery and design. Thanks to Bernardo Casabone and Bárbara Buades and MEETOPTICS, of course. Try yourself. visit meetoptics.com and see if it can cut weeks of your product search.
Thank you very much, Jose. It's been a pleasure.